So, it's the conclusion of my epic story, and I just wanted to thank disneyplus. What? What? They released Doctor Strange into the Multiverse of Madness on the same day as my finale? Oh, this is some bullshit! Greetings and welcome once again to Roman of the Empire. I am your host, Roman. Today we are talking about the thrilling conclusion of Obi-Wan Kenobi on Disney Plus Star Wars Episode 6. So, the last episode left us with the cliffhanger of Obi-Wan, the infant Leia, and the pre-rebels fleeing Jabim with Darth Vader in his Star Destroyer in fast pursuit, as their ship, with a damaged hyperdrive, has taken some shots. Meanwhile, the lightsaber run-through delightful Reva has been left for dead by Vader and the Grand Inquisitor, and she discovers a comlink with a message from Bail Organa talking about the boy and Tatooine. So, this was the final episode of the series. I had such high hopes for this series, only to have them dashed within the first few minutes of the first episode when we had Obi-Wan cutting meat, and it was just depressing and sad is what we got. But this was the best episode of this series. The look of this episode was actually good. It was better than any of the previous episodes. They must have been saving their budget literally for this episode. There was a lot of action. The problems I have still come from how you know how the story ends. You know where this is going to end up because episode 4 is still there. And you have all the canning, killing stuff that this series has introduced. The introduction of Leia and the confrontation of Vader and Obi-Wan too soon. But we do get, despite the fact that it's canon killing, we do get a better lightsaber battle in this episode. Much better interaction between Vader and Kenobi. And it's very visually pleasing. The bridge of the Star Destroyer and all the space stuff look good, and we even get a better soundtrack this episode. What? So if you've stuck with it this far, go ahead and finish it out. You're not getting anything that you're not probably expecting. But is what it is. So that's Disney Star Wars. We're going to dive now into spoilers and plot summary. So if you haven't watched any of it, you probably aren't getting to this point anyway. So, spoilers and plot summary. The episode opens with the delightful Reva, again, clearly not dead, though Qui-Gon suffered the same kind of wound from Darth Maul, run through, but, of course, she's better than him. She has to be better than him. And so she's left for dead by the Vader and the Grand Inquisitor, like I said, but she's not dead. And now she's on her way to Tatooine. And she's charming as ever when she gets there, and she's trying to get information about Owen, who she met in her previous expedition to Tatooine. In the meantime, Vader is pursuing Obi-Wan, Leia, and the pre-rebels, and to try to buy some time for the rebels because the hyperdrive is down and needs to get repaired, Obi-Wan says he's going to go off and try to pull Vader away, to lead him away so he'll chase him because he knows he will. So he leaves Leia with the fake Jedi to take her back to Alderaan. He's giving an awful lot of faith to this guy, but hey, it's strange times and not a very well-written script. So Obi-Wan's ship departs. It's a drop ship from the whatever kind of piece of space garbage they're flying in. So it drops off and heads away from the main ship. And the Grand Inquisitor, who I actually still like in this series, he's very cold, and he speaks very imperial, which I like. Tells Vader that obviously they have to pursue the main ship to take care of the network. And Vader's like, nah, I'm going after Obi-Wan. Okay, got it. So Owen gets word that the delightful Reva is on her way, and he and Beru prepare for an attack that they know is coming. And Beru makes an odd statement that she will come at night. Why? Reva's far more powerful than they are. She's got the Force and all the other bullshit. Don't know. Don't know. It's just an odd thing. So anyway, they tell Luke if everything goes to shit to run off, and he does. And eventually, we'll get there. It's fine. Obi-Wan lands on unnamed planet or moon. It's very rocky. It's full of these spires that go up, up. It looks like the bottom of a cave, except it's a planet or a moon. And it's kind of like a better version of an original Star Trek set. So it's something. Vader lands, and they get right to it. There's a brief exchange of dialogue, and then they're into a fight. And it's, like I said, it's a pretty good fight. Not as good as the prequels with the fast action stuff, but it's faster, definitely, than we got in their previous encounter, which was mostly garbage. So they're using both lightsabers and Force. And Obi-Wan's form is just so much better than it was. And he puts up a good fight, but Vader is very powerful, and he literally, in a cool scene, he opens up the ground with the Force and drops Obi-Wan into a pit and just pulls all this rock on top of him. And then he delivers a clever line and starts to walk back to his ship. Okay. Not guessing what's going to happen, but you probably see the problem with that, right? Vader can't be that short-sighted. He can't sense anything. His tingly spider force isn't working. Come on. So, Reva shows up at the Lars homestead, kicks Owen and Beru's asses, doesn't kill them because she can't, because future story, and then pursues young Luke, who actually runs and looks like a 10-year-old child as opposed to the infant Leia, off into the desert. So, surprising no one, Obi-Wan uses the Force to get out of his would-be grave. Somehow, Vader doesn't pick up on any of this, and Obi-Wan gets the drop on him. They have another good fight here. This is actually, it's very cool to watch. Again, it's canon killing, but this was cool to watch. And this Obi-Wan using the Force, which he's really gotten back, and his superior fighting skill really kicks Vader's butt here. He even opens up the mask. And that's neat. It's cool to see. But then he doesn't kill him. He doesn't kill him because, of course, he can't kill him. But this is my favorite exchange of these series, is the dialogue that happens between the two after Vader is severely damaged and Obi-Wan is dominant in the fight. Obi-Wan, teary-eyed, looks at his friend and says, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everything. And Vader looks at him, and you can see the half face exposed, and it is a good scene. Tells him that he, Obi-Wan, didn't kill Anakin, but that he, Vader, did. And Obi-Wan says, my friend is truly dead. And he says, farewell, Vader, which is a little bit weird, and then he leaves. Again, we go back to the what the fuck, but we know why. We know why he can't kill him, because future story. This is why this doesn't work particularly well. You end up with all these holes where it could have been the end of a thing, but isn't, because future story. Granted, they did damage to the canon, but they can't completely collapse it, which is what, if you kill Vader, obviously none of these events happen. It's just painful. So, Obi-Wan gets in his ship, senses Luke is in danger, and flies off to Tatooine, which he should have never left in the first place. Reva pulls Luke down from a cliff using her Force powers, And she's moving in for the kill. This is an okay scene. It's probably the best Reva scene that you get out of this series. And she has flashbacks to the Jedi Temple when Anakin was there to kill all of them. And she sees herself as the helpless boy lying on the ground in front of her now. And then the scene drops. Okay, that's actually not bad. Obi-Wan lands just in time for the delightful Reva to be returning to Owen and Beru with an unconscious, but not dead, Luke in her arms. Because, you know, you can't kill Luke. All of these things, none of these things can happen. So it just makes for a really shoddy storyline. But anyway. So Owen and Beru take Luke off, and then Obi-Wan and Reva get a chance to actually talk, where she's not yelling at him. She thinks she has failed the younglings by not killing Anakin's son. Remember, this whole revenge trip for her. And Obi-Wan tells her that she has honored them by showing mercy. She drops her lightsaber, and he tells her that what happens to her now is really up to her. She gets to choose her path. Okay. It's fine. Obi-Wan returns to Alderaan, says a proper farewell to the infant Leia in a scene that shouldn't happen, because the story shouldn't happen. And then we get a really cool scene, actually. This is a highlight. The Vader stuff is usually the highlight on this. We get a cool scene on Mustafar with Vader talking to the Emperor, who's concerned that Vader's overly obsessed with finding Obi-Wan and questions his ability. Vader's like, nah, it'll be cool. The problem I did have with the scene, it's the hologram Emperor talking to Vader, is that Vader, if you'll recall, he isn't doing the kneel thing. He's just sitting in his throne on Mustafar, but not doing the proper, maybe it happened before, but whatever. The scene still looks good despite that, but still, it's a problem. And then back to Tatooine, because there's a lot of back and forth in this episode. And he shows up at the Lars homestead. Owen's like, why are you here now? And Obi-Wan's like, you know, I'm going to go away. He needs to be a boy. I'm not going to train him. He just needs to be a regular kid. The future will take care of itself. And then Owen, and I like this scene too, asks Obi-Wan if he'd like to meet Luke. And he goes up to the young child and says, hello there. And it's not a bad scene. And then you get a little bit more surprise, actual surprise at the end of this, which I'm going to leave, because none of this other stuff was surprise. Quite honestly, if you've seen Star Wars ever, you know what is ultimately going to happen. You know, the finer points of the story, yeah, whatever, but you know where it ends. So, and then it is a nice, the final scene is a nice closer to this very damaged series, but is what it is. So, the story hurts canon. That's not good. Makes a lot of the action dull. And ultimately, it hurts the way these characters are viewed. They're either unlikable or weak. That's the way I see it. There's talk of a season 2. I'm really hoping that does not come to pass. And even better, there's talk of a delightful Reva series. God help us all. So, this was the crown jewel. This was the Star Wars series everyone was waiting for, and it's undeniably a flop. Sorry. Much as I love Ewan McGregor, this wasn't it. The return of Hayden Christensen as Darth Vader, you had the parts, it just couldn't work because the writing wasn't good, and they screwed with canon. And we've talked about that before. So, in my opinion, what should happen, but won't happen, of course, is Star Wars should be left alone for a very long time. But you're getting, you know, a handful of series. They're going to keep reanimating that corpse. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. So, that is the end of Obi-Wan. We made it. Who knows what the next remarkable series that we shall review is. Let's just hope it's better. But for now, this has been Roman of the Empire, signing off. Be kind.